Hi, I'm Lazze and I'm teaching people in metal shaping, and I'm back here on YouTube with tips and tricks. And I guess an inner wheel housing for an old car is something that many people would like to make and need to make because it's damaged or rusty. So here is a good tips and tricks how to make that. And you can do that with pretty simple tools and a welder. And it can be a result that looks good too. So here is an inner wheel housing for rear inner wheel housing for 33-34 Ford. And I made this several years back, but I want to make it in one piece. And it's a lots of shrinking if I'm going to, the material is up here, and then I'm going to shrink that in and roll it and shrink more. It's a lots of material to shrink. So that takes some time. And it's a little difficult to make it and keep this straight. So this video is about how you can make it with a small shrinker and a simple English wheel, and to make it faster too and better quality than this one. So if I'm going to make this and I have only a small shrinker and I have a small bench model English wheel, or even if I don't have an English wheel, I can use a hammer and a dolly or a vise. But I prefer to do the welding in the center of this part. So I do little on this part there, and then do little on this part here, and I'll make this wider from the beginning. So if I just weld it in the center of this radius, it helps me a lot because I just need to do little bending here and little shrinking, and the same thing on this one, and I meet in the center of the radius there. And then it's so much easier to weld it there because it doesn't give so much distortion because you have the radius there, and you can grind it easy on this side. It's a little more difficult to grind it on the inside, but that can be done as well with a smaller grinding disc. And then after that, you can either take a hammer and a dolly and you can hammer this round and nice, or you go back to the wheel if it's clean and you can roll it with English wheel and smooth it out that way. So let's do a little sample of this so you can see the process of it. I'm not going to make the whole thing, but I'm going to show you the process of it. So let's see. This is not the right shape. I had something. Oh, it's pretty close actually. I had one piece sitting around, laying around. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm just going to tap it with a shrinker. Not so much here because it's pretty much straight there. In the curve here, then I need to shrink a little bit, and then I'm going to smooth it out with a wheel. So let's go to the small shrinker, and I can show you the process for this. So it helps me to draw a line here with a pen, and I keep my finger to the edge, and maybe a 3/4 to an inch deep, like that. So what I'm going to do here now, I don't want to shrink so much. Because when I weld it, it's going to shrink even more. It's more important here that I'm consistent with the shrinking. I'm just going to do half of it now so you can see the process. I go in a little deeper in. You see how I'm holding my left hand here? And that means that I can move it better and have better control when I move it. Like that. Now you can see that it starts curving a little. So when I go to the English wheel and bending this, it will be more straight here on the back there again. But you see how this whole thing here curving now. I haven't done anything to this surface here at all. I just shrunk the edge. So let's go over to the wheel and I'm going to roll that little bit. So I'm using the roundest wheel here. Maybe that it could be a little too much. Let's see what I can do with this. Anyway, I shrunk the edge, so now when I roll it with a wheel, I need to use a low pressure. If I'm using too high pressure, then I'm going to stretch it out again, and it's never going to be the result what I want. So you must be careful when you're rolling this, so you don't use high pressure. So now you can see that this part here is 100% flat, and that's what I want. But you see now we have a little curve there, so if I leave it like this now and then make the top piece to match there, then it will be welded in a curve. I could probably shrink it a little more, but I must keep in mind that when I weld this, it's going to shrink even more. So maybe I take that shrinking with the welding when I weld it together instead. So here you can see that I'm going to make this part that matching there now. So I'm going to roll that edge and then on this piece, and then I'm going to shrink that and then smooth it out again, and then maybe shrink a little more until I get it to fit there. The benefits of doing it in two pieces like this is that you can do the beads on this piece when you have done this part, because the bead roller, even whatever bead roller you have that gap so you can reach in with this flange. If you do it as I did on the sample on the table, so this flange is going in like this, I must do all the bead work before I start working on the edge. Everything needs to be done first. So you can work different ways, but it can be done. So like that. You see it start curving a little bit this way. And it's because the pressure is a little too much. So it's stretched a little bit because I want it to go the opposite way. So let's go over to the shrinker again and shrink this part now so I can make it to match the other one. So I'm using the small one. It's a good help if I draw a line on this one as well, because then I can, I know the depth, so I go in the same depth. So that's what it looks like now, but I'm going to smooth this out a little and bend it a little bit, so we will see where we are after that. So again, low pressure. And I can do half of the length first and then go over to the other side. So I'm always holding my hands on the biggest part. So there is what it looks like now. I'm going to hold it to the other piece and see where we are if I need to shrink more. Okay. So you see here that the radius needs to be a little more. So in this case, I don't want to shrink more because I think then it's going to be too sharp bend. So what I can do here now, I can actually bend this a little more like that. You see, now we are much, much closer. I could bend the ends a little bit more. So a wooden table is a really good thing to have as a working table. You see, now we are really close there now. So now I can actually feel that I have a nice radius here. If you want that radius to be a little bigger, then of course you can go in a little further in and you can start bending it earlier. And same thing on this one, and bend it a little earlier there, and you got a bigger radius. To attach those pieces together, and you can see that we can use those clicos. And on my website you have those clips with 2 holes. So that means that I can drill a hole on this one, and I can put that one in there, and then I can put all those 2 pieces together, and I make sure that everything fits before I start welding it together. So those Clico clips works really, really good. They expanding like that. Comes from the airplane industry. So that is another way to do a rear inner wheel housing instead of doing it in one piece. It can be done in one piece, but I can make it so much faster this way. And it's easier for you to do, and you can use, all you need to do is actually use a small shrinker, and the rest can be done with a hammer and dolly or the English wheel to roll it. So that was the tips and tricks for the rear inner wheel housing, and I hope this was helpful for you and you're going to have fun making something like this one day. If you want more information about classes and equipment, go to www.lazzemetalshaping.com. Thank you for watching.